webinar.
He was he was a visiting researcher at PARAMA, Parama Biomonitoring Institute at Fukuoka, Japan in 94 and 96. Currently, he is an adjunct professor at ECE Department, MIT Manipal, and Director of Research and Training at Manipal.net, Manipal, as well as Chair IEEE Mangalore subsection. He was the recipient of IEEE EMBA's Best Student Paper Award in 1992 at Paris and Young Achiever Paper Award at ISCE Arizona in 1996. Among the noted awards he has received, a special mention must be made of him having been felicitated with Distinguished Alumnus Award by NITK during the Diamond Jubilee celebrations in the year 2019. His commitment to engineering education and research quality has made him a highly sought after academician who continues his primary vocation in the capacity of an adjunct professor at EC departments of MIT Manipal, MIT Mudbidri, SMVITM Pantakal, NMA MIT Nitte, Sahyadri College of Engineering and Management at Mangalore University, as well as being a member of the internal quality assurance at most of the engineering colleges around, including Canada and St. Joseph's Engineering College. He's been actively mentoring students and faculty from around, as well as volunteering his expertise to various technical societies. He is the immediate past secretary of BMESI, Biomedical Engineers Society India, and has been one of the founding charter members of the IEEE Mangalore subsection, and has volunteered in various capacity there. Currently, he is the chair of IEEE Mangalore subsection. In his present role at Manipal.net Manipal, where he's been a founding director for the better part of a decade and a half, he's solely in charge of research and training. So this was a very brief bio of Professor UC Niranjan. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Ashwini. Thank you for that introduction. Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to give this webinar today. I'm Niranjan UC. I'm the chair of IEEE Mangalore subsection, which is the subsection coming under IEEE Bangalore section. The jurisdiction of IEEE Mangalore subsection happens to be 6 revenue districts of Western Karnataka, namely Dakshina Kannada, Udupi, Uttara Kannada, Shivamogga, Chikmagaluru, and Kodagu. I would like to point your notice to, or point your attention to our address, which is put up on this slide. We are permanently located, our office is permanently located in NMA MIT Nitte. With humility, I present this webinar on my 3 decades journey with IEEE. I shall share my experiences of how I leverage IEEE membership for my own benefit as well as for the benefit of community around me. So out of these 3 decades, the first 1.5 decades has been, I was mainly played the role of an academician, and in the last 1.5 decades, it's mainly working in an industry. So the values and the professional ethics which I have picked up from IEEE have played a very big role in my switching over role from academician to an industry person, and also as a professional engineer to an academician all the while. So I will just, this is also a very great moment for me to reflect my 3 decades of engineering profession, and out of which, I became a IEEE student member in 1990. Before that, I would like to just go through some of the basic pillars of IEEE Foundation, some of the member benefits which IEEE offers. First one is knowledge, of course. You have lots of these transactions of IEEE, which we as researchers refer to in order to know what is the current technology, state of the art. And for students, it is mainly the Spectrum magazine. And 3 decades ago, when I was a student and I became a student member, IEEE Spectrum magazine was the window for us to know about what's happening in the technical world, what's happening in the Western world, what is happening in the advanced society. And it's very interesting in this presentation. I will just give you one example wherein our group, took from an IEEE Spectrum magazine and we took that technology from one domain to another domain and we worked on it and then we got to publish that in an IEEE transactions. Community, IEEE has got a huge community of its members who are professional members, professional engineers, researchers, scientists, and academicians. It gives you a great opportunity to network with them, and especially when in 1990s, when India opened its gates for privatization and many of these multinational companies started investing in India, one of the ways in which we could improve the quality of our students and also the faculty so that we are at par with the state of the art technology and with the Western world was through this community networking of IEEE members. Professional growth. Whenever you want to write a paper, you seek the help of an IEEE member who is in your network. And we have been doing lots of these paper writing workshops, grant writing workshops through IEEE in order to build a student community who are conversant with all of these skill sets. Volunteering is another very strong pillar of IEEE, and this is a value which you inculcate as a student as a student member of IEEE, and you take it forward throughout your engineering career, even when you graduate and when you become a member and senior member and so on. And this has been one of the fundamental contribution which I have been doing for the last 3 decades, and I have reaped rich dividends. And I will give you some of the examples of how knowledge shared is knowledge doubled, and then how the good which you do for society comes back to you in multifold. And we at IEEE Mangalore subsection, especially our students in student branches, have been doing some excellent work for the benefit of the society around their colleges, communities in their villages around them. So I will just touch upon some of those aspects also in this presentation. And some of the, one of the phrase I've been hearing, especially from very senior members of IEEE these days, from Bangalore section also, is derive benefits from your membership. See, IEEE has lots of infrastructure in the form of technical knowledge and also a big, huge, vast community of its practicing engineers and professionals. But mere becoming a member will not fetch you any good. You have to involve, you have to indulge in their activities in order to derive benefits. It is something like how life happens and how life unfolds. But only through your actions and through your involvement in the life, you derive some meaning to your life. So this is a pleasant duty for me in this webinar to recollect how my journey with IEEE and how I became a member of IEEE. So when I was a student of PhD student in Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, I became the student member of IEEE. That was in the year 1990. And Professor M.A.L. Tatachar, whose office was just next to my laboratory in the Indian Institute of Science, was the chair of IEEE Bangalore section at that time. And we were all, as all of us are here, affiliated to the Bangalore section. And when I graduated with PhD in 1992, I became a full member. And in 1995, I became a senior member. And that was also a pleasant experience because during that time, I used to receive a hard copy of IEEE Kerala newsletters. I don't know how that used to come to me, but the editor of that IEEE Kerala section newsletter once wrote to me, and then he said, I am eligible to become a senior member, and then he would like to recommend me for senior membership. And that was how I became the senior member of IEEE. So during those times, becoming a member of IEEE was not online nature. It was all offline. You had to fill up a form and you have to go to a bank and then take a check in US dollars, and then you have to post your application form. And that is how, you would become, you would apply for the membership of IEEE. Well, during my stint in Indian Institute of Science, I wrote one technical paper, and that was my first technical paper for IEEE. And once again, during those years, it was not online submission of papers. You have to type it, you have to take a printout, and if you have graphs like what you see in these slides, we used to take a plot on a plotter with ink, pens, and then we would cut it. Literally, we would cut paste that graph, and then we would attach it to our camera ready author kits, and then we would post it to the organizers of the conference, and then they would take the camera ready copy, and then they will publish it in the conference proceedings. So that is how it used to be, and these days it is all online, and it is so quick and very easy also. And luckily for me, this was an annual conference of IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society, which was held in Paris in 1992. And this paper of mine got a student paper award. I received some $1,000 grant, and the EMBS chapter of France, who were the hosts, they also gave some bread and breakfast kind of accommodation for all the students. So this made it very easy for me to make my first trip abroad, to make, and also to make a presentation in an international conference, and I could network and I could see and meet in person many of the stalwarts and many of the people who were doing cutting edge research in biomedical engineering during that time. In that conference, I could personally meet with them, and then I could talk to them. Luckily for me, I also met a senior PhD student of my own guide in that conference, and he invited me to come to United States of America, and he offered me another $1,000 to visit his company and take a job interview. And so that is how I could extend my trip from France to USA, and then I could meet some of my uh, friends from Indian Institute of Science and researchers in the United States of America. So after my graduation of PhD in 1992, I moved to my hometown, which is Udupi, Manipal. Incidentally, at that time, Manipal Institute of Technology also opened a Department of Biomedical Engineering, because under their Manipal institutes, they also have a medical college and hospital, which is very well known all around the world. And this was a great opportunity for me also to interact with clinicians and doctors and medical professionals in order to do some interdisciplinary research in the area of biomedical engineering. And that is the foundation which we built from 1992, which has taken a very good shape today. And today we have many Government of Karnataka sponsored, bio incubator. We have an incubation center. We have an innovation center. Most of them are doing these multidisciplinary engineering and medicine kind of research work and projects. Thanks to my colleagues in the Department of Biomedical Engineering, that we could build this kind of an infrastructure. And I'm very happy to state that not less than 50 PhDs have been awarded in the multidisciplinary area of biomedical engineering from the Autonomous Institute of Manipal Institute of Technology and Manipal University. Well, our foray into EMBS conference in 1992 continues even today. So after that stint in 1998, another student of belonging to our group wrote a paper, and that was also given a student paper award, and that conference was held in Hong Kong. And later in 2004, EMBS annual conference was held in San Francisco. One of our students had a paper there. And in 2011, it was held in Boston, and another student had a paper there. In Osaka, Japan in 2013, and in Korea in 2017. In all these 6 conferences, our students personally, physically attended these conferences and then made this presentation. In the first 2, the organizers, because of the award, the papers received, the students got a chance to, go to the conference, and their expenses were met. But in the other 4 conferences, it was DST and ASCT and other institutions which gave the travel grant for the students to go and then make these presentations. Well, I would just like to tell you something about the student paper which won the award in Hong Kong. And this was an idea which we picked up from IEEE Spectrum magazine. As I said initially, Spectrum magazine was was a window for us to get to know about what is happening in the technical world. And in a small place, in a tier 3 city like Manipal, that was the only way in which you can get to know as to what's happening in the world, in the technical world. And here there was an article on what is known as steganography, which is hiding of text information inside images. The student who saw this article wanted to take this idea into biomedical engineering, and instead of text, she thought that she would take the data which belongs to a patient, like an electrocardiogram, and that the data she will embed into a picture, such as a medical image, a CT scan image, or an X-ray image. So once again, I deliberately made this slide with old-time transparency, which we used to use to make our conference presentations and classes, etc. Probably the millennials who are attending this webinar wouldn't have had seen this transparency, and they may be just not knowing how the presentations were made during our time. So this is a slide which is a picture of a transcript, and this concept shows you that in the center you have an electrocardiogram which is all sampled, and it's a digital representation of the ECG, which is nothing but bit streams. So 1 byte per sample will have a bit stream from B0 to B7. And if the very same patient also has undergone some medical imaging test or diagnosis, So he will have a medical image picture as well. So in these pixels, which are also nothing but a stream of bits, you embed these uh, bit stream corresponding to ECG, and then that is how you embed one set of data into another set of data, which is an idea which we took from the steganography. So here it is in more detail. You have ECG data, which is a bit stream from C0 to C7. And if the first pixel of the medical image is B0 to B7, the LSBs are replaced. The B0 is replaced with C0 for the first pixel. And for the second pixel, C1 replaces the first LSB of the second pixel. So we call this as watermarking. So this is also used in copyright protection kind of applications also. And this we extended as a biomedical information technology kind of application. Once again, see the kind of infrastructure, the kind of resources we had during that time was not the state of the art as to what we get today. These days, CT machines and MRI machines give you digital images in PACS format. But those days, we used to go to the Kasturba Medical College Hospital in Manipal, and we would take the pictures on the X-ray sheets, and we would scan them and then convert them into a digital image, which could be read into our processing programs, and then we could process it to embed different patient information into those images. So as you can see here, on the left side, we have the original image. On the right side, you have an image whose LSBs are all having some other information, such as the electrocardiogram or the patient history or patient information, and so on. So visually, they both look the same. And then we computed the mean square error, and then we wrote the paper. And we were ambitious, so we did some extension of this work, and then we introduced some kind of encryption of the data which we embed into the pictures, and then we wrote a transaction paper. But when you write the transaction papers, there are very serious reviews of the paper is done, and we received some excellent reviews for our paper, and that made us think in multiple directions, and then it encouraged us to look deeply into that. And one of the main review comment was to not just look at the image, but also look at its the probability distribution of the pixels, or the histogram of the pixel intensity. That gave us some more intuitive ideas as to what exactly was happening when we were doing the watermarking of medical images. So in 1998, we made a extensive paper, and then we submitted it to IEEE Transactions on Information Technology in Biomedicine. For a Tier 3 engineering college located in Manipal, that was quite a remarkable achievement, and it appeared as a full paper in the IEEE Transactions in the area in the year 2001, as you can see here. During my stint as an lecturer in Manipal Institute of Technology, I was very lucky to have some very talented students, two of whom are shown here in this slide. As you can see, well, after their graduation from Manipal, um, they put in a lot of hard work, and then they have achieved greater heights in the technical world. And one of them is Satya Nadella, who is the present Chief Executive Officer of Microsoft. The top left picture is his class's graduation picture, and which you can see. And another student whom I taught was Rajiv Suri, who later became the CEO of Nokia. And both of these students were so magnanimous to acknowledge the kind of work culture, the kind of pedagogy, and the kind of inputs they received from MIT Manipal, which helped them, which nurtured them to shape their career and then their future. So, in the interviews which were taken when they became CEOs, or when Rajiv Suri came to Manipal to give the graduation convocation commencement talk, he made it a point to acknowledge, mention the names of their teachers and acknowledge what inputs which he received from these the teachers and the college, which shaped him to achieve the heights which he achieved in his technical profession. Apart from these very well-known students, I also have very many students who have turned out to be entrepreneurs and then CEOs of their own companies. And because my focus area was mainly biomedical engineering, the top picture shows one of my students who works in the area of neonatal ICU baby monitoring systems. So he has developed a system, and then he works mainly from Bangalore. And then on the bottom right, there is another student of mine who works in the area of cardiac health and mainly telehealth, teleconferencing and medicine kind of projects, where it is the electrocardiogram and cardiac information which is made available to a cardiac clinician anywhere in any part of the world for his expertise. And this lady entrepreneur is actually the author of that paper which won a prize in Hong Kong conference. She now works in the area of nutritional food drinks, and she has a startup which makes protein drinks and then the nutritional drinks of various flavors. And one of the greatest advantage of being a teacher is that you keep in touch with your students, and then they go around the world. They are very young, and then they explore the world, and then they do lots of experiments and adventures, and they come back to you, and then they tell you as to what all they have done, what all they have achieved, and what are all the progress that is happening in the technical world. So you get to listen to that, you get to hear that, and you get to use that in your classes for your present generation of students. So without having to move out of Manipal or wherever you work, you get to hear from your students from Harvard or from Stanford as to what kind of technical research is going on in various companies and all around the world. So, well, in 2001, actually, I happened to meet with a very devastating accident, a road traffic accident, wherein both my legs were completely broken, and it took nearly 4 years for me to recuperate. During that time, I had to discontinue my teaching position and my teaching job. So when that accident happened, and as it was a very severe accident, I was put under the ICU, and then a long surgery took place. And when I wake up the next morning in the ICU, I see that I am connected to a patient monitoring system which is developed by one of my students in one of the medical systems company, for which we had also done some kind of technical collaboration and then knowledge exchange. So that was one of the very fulfilling moment of my life, when in that difficult state, you see that your own students designed patient monitoring system is connected to you, and then it is giving you all your vital parameters. That was one of the happiest moment of my life. Well, after the recovery from the accident, one of my former students from MIT and who is an alumnus of MIT had a startup company called Manipal.net Private Limited. He had he started this company, and then he asked me for some help in the area of digital signal processing, which I readily accepted because I had discontinued my teaching position. And then that is how we started Manipal.net. We started with just 3 employees in an incubation center started by the government of Karnataka. And today we have moved to this two-storied building in the Manipal industrial area, which you can see here on the slide. We are basically a hardware and software design services company. So some of the products which we have designed and which were showcased in the Indian Semiconductor Association conference in 2012 is displayed, is shown on this slide. So we make a lot of, we used to make a lot of PCBs, proof of concepts, and prototypes in the space of evaluation kits for students, and some dashboards, digital dashboards, but with analog displays, IoTs. We used to work on IoT a decade ago. In 2010 only, we were working on in the area of Internet of Things. So as you can see on the bottom left, we have a energy meter, which is IoT based. You can connect to your energy meter from anywhere in the world, and then you can see what is the energy consumption of your device or your home. So these are some of the products on which we developed for some of our clients, and then we displayed it in one of the conferences in Bangalore. So these are the people of our company. As I said, initially we were 3, and today we have grown to about 80 people. And initially we were located in the incubation center, and then when we grew, we had to move out to rented premises. And after a stint of about 10 years in rented premises, now we have moved to our own premises, our own building. And as you can see, this company gave an opportunity for the local engineering talent, graduates from the local engineering colleges in and around Manipal. Otherwise, they had to move out to Bangalore and Mumbai and Hyderabad to seek out technically enriching jobs. But we gave them an opportunity to work on very high-end technology, being in their hometown, staying with their parents, staying with their siblings. Many of my colleagues in this picture travel every day from their home. At least some of them who are a little far off, at least make it a point to visit their parents and go to their hometown every weekend. So this is a picture which we took about 5 years ago. Probably many of them were very young then, and some of them were unmarried also. And as you can see, the average age of our employees was around 25 at the time. So you add another +5 because this is a picture which was taken about 5 years ago. And you also see that there are some very senior people also in this picture. So these were, people who had put in a lot of work in a lot of experience they had gained and had done work in Silicon Valley or in Bangalore, and they had no avenues in their hometown. If they always wanted to come back, but there were no openings or avenues for them. So this company of ours gave them an opportunity to come back and then continue to do their technical work. This is the team of the company, Manipal.net. We have 4 PhDs on board. Apart from me, the other 3 PhDs are all from the USA. One is from Berkeley. Our CEO is a PhD from Berkeley. Our CTO is a PhD from University of Southern California. And Dr. Vinay is a PhD from MIT, Massachusetts. So of the 9 team managers which you see in this picture. 5 are alumni of NITK, and 2 of them have been given the Distinguished Alumnus Award from NITK. And all put together, we have about 1,000 years of experience. All our employees put together, we have about 1,000 years of experience in this company. So that is what attracts many multinational companies from Silicon Valley to do work with us. And we have never canvassed or we have never advertised. It's only word of mouth which has traveled, and then we keep continuously keep getting projects and then product development opportunities. So some of the area, because we cater to the needs of our clients who are from diverse fields, we have to keep on re-educating ourselves. So we have been able to re-educate ourselves and work on various platforms like programmable system on the chip. These days, we also work on graphical processor units. FPGAs have been our main stream of work. And we also work on video analytics and then network video recorders in the surveillance space. And many of the projects which are, platforms on which we work and the products which we develop, prototypes which we have designed, many interns have contributed to this work. So one of the product which was developed in collaboration with the Freescale was an evaluation kit which was called as Electronic Tower, which won the most innovative, most best innovation award in 2011 EDN conference in California. This was done in collaboration with the Freescale. So this is a reusable, reconfigurable, reprogrammable evaluation kit, which can be connected in the form of a tower. So the microcontroller is on one PCB. The peripherals are all on another PCB, and the different types of interface like USB, Ethernet are all on one board. You can all connect all of them together in the form of a tower, and then you can reuse them depending upon your application, which you embedded system application which you want to develop. So this allows you to come out with a prototype very quickly. And as I was saying, we are located in a tier 3 city of Manipal. In 2019, Tech Summit of Government of Karnataka, which is held in the Palace, Bangalore, every year during the time of October-November. In the year 2019, our company received the highest growth in electronic hardware export from a tier 3 city, and that is our chairperson and then head of our electronic hardware technology unit receiving the award from the government minister from the government of Karnataka. So apart from our work in the company Manipal.net, we also, many of my colleagues, many of my fellow engineers in the company also contribute to the society and the technical community around. For example, we actively participate in the IEEE workshops. Many of my colleagues give keynote addresses and workshops. They also are members of the board of studies of various institutes and universities. They are mentors in the incubation centers, PhD advisors for research students, and conference chairs, and then technical paper reviewers, and so on. So we keep it open, and then we also take interns from the local engineering colleges, full-time internships of 6 months, and then we train them, and who like our work culture continue to be with us as our employees. So this is how we have been the volunteering work which IEEE envisages and then suggests we have been doing through our company. I will take this opportunity to tell the audience something about IEEE Mangalore subsection events. Also, we hold our annual general body meeting soon after the Bangalore section general body meeting in the month of January every year. So it's a one full day event. In the morning event, all the student branches are asked to make presentations as to what they have done in the previous calendar year, and which is very interesting because they come back and then show us as to what are all the activities they have done, what are all the humanitarian activities which they have done. Another flagship event of ours is known as I2 Connect, which is Industry Institute Connect program, where we ask our undergraduate and postgraduate student project exhibition and a project competition. Apart from this competition where awards are given, we also have some workshops and then panel discussions and tours of local facility, etc. are also organized as part of this event. Discover is another flagship international conference which is held these days annually by IEEE Bangalore subsection. This gives a forum for our researchers, faculty members, PhD students to make a presentation in an international arena. How to write a technical paper, how to make presentations, uh, and so on, and so on. So this year it's being held on end of October, that is, I think, 30th and 31st in Madhva Vadiraja Institute of Technology, Bantakal, near Udupi. So after the student branches make their presentations during the general body meeting, whatever surplus money we have in the Bangalore subsection, we distribute it to all our student branches so that they can carry out their activities for the next year. And for our professional members, we may see to it that they are all elevated. Those who have dedicated their life for education and who have got immense contribution to the society and community, we see to it that they are all elevated to the senior member position. I take this opportunity to reach out to all IEEE Mangalore subsection student members to reach out to our executive committee for all their requirements such as workshops or DLP programs, internships, and jobs and project mentoring, so that we can help them out with their projects and so on. So during this AGM presentation by the student branches, we get to hear all kinds of experiments and all kinds of volunteering activities which our student branch student members do. So they go to schools, local schools around their colleges, and under deprived students, uh, school students, the underprivileged school students are given computer skills, and then engineering skills and communication skills are taught. ETL is Atal Tinkering Lab. Many schools have this Atal Tinkering Lab toys, but they do not have the resources to use. I mean, they do not have the human resources to make use of that. So some of our student volunteers go there, use those Arduino kits, use those sensors, and then help the students to build projects and thereby act as facilitators of these Atal Tinkering labs. And some of the colleges have adopted local gram panchayats and villages, and be it their solar power requirement or sanitation, some kind of digital help for the ASHA workers and hygiene kind of thing. So they have made contributions in that area. And especially for migrant workers and senior citizens, the use of mobile phones for transferring of funds and then access to information are, they conduct classes for senior citizens as well as migrant workers. And tech workshops are regular things which are held in these student branches, such as programming skills, communication skills, and hardware skills, and so on. So I would conclude by dedicating this webinar to all my colleagues on IEEE Mangalore subsection who have great innovative ideas, and for their dedication and for their volunteering. And it's been a very fruitful roller coaster ride for me for the last 3 decades, with lots of ups and downs, triumphs and tribulations. But interacting with all my IEEE MSS colleagues makes it really a worthwhile and enjoyable ride journey. I also take this opportunity to dedicate this talk to my company Manipal.net and all my colleagues and management who see to it that they open their doors to hold our executive committee meetings there. They open their doors they give their premises to hold our seminars, and they offer their own expertise, and also the foreign visitors. The internal seminars they open for IEEE members. So I would like to thank Manipal.net also, and the students who are always there for the as volunteers with lots of the energy and vibrancy, and all the colleges belonging to IEEE MSS for collaborating with us, talking to us, and to helping us out to reach out to them and then hold our activities there. And I would also like to thank and dedicate this to IEEE Bangalore section for their constant support and encouragement of Bangalore subsection. Thank you very much. I am open for comments and feedback if you have any questions.
Thank you, sir. Yes, there are few questions in the chat window.
Okay.
Like I can, you can go over it, or I can read it out for you.
I cannot see that here.
Let me help in reading out that to you.
Okay, please.
One of the question is, please give some inputs on UG students in engineering to increase the chances of student papers in international IEEE conferences.
Okay. Basically, you have to, have some very new and novel idea, as such as the example which I gave. So best thing is to start small with IEEE Spectrum magazine, and then read out a lot of articles, and then which IEEE Spectrum magazine is a very easy to understand kind of articles are there, which any layman can understand, get to understand what is the application, get to understand what is the technology which is used, and then try to connect it with what you are doing or what you are studying and what you are doing in the laboratories, and then see whether you can extend what you study in your college, what you do in your laboratory, whether you can extend it those course material to something else, something extra, so that you can write out a technical paper. And we have many experts in our committee who will help you out in how to write the paper, what should be the content of the paper, how it should be made effective, and what are all the formats in which the paper needs to be written, what are all the page limits, and what are all the conferences where papers are accepted, where student papers are accepted and encouraged. So you'll have to go through all this, and we have many faculty members who have worked both in industry as well as academia, who have been regular publishers of papers in the conferences, who can help you out with writing of the technical papers. And they actually conduct these workshops wherein they give you a problem, and then you go through that problem, and then you try to write it in the form of a technical paper. So I can definitely help you out with that if you write to me.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And the next question is, what is the acceptance rate and the publication time in IEEE transaction?
Well, these days it must be really, really huge. During my time itself, it used to be very prestigious. IEEE transactions used to take about 2 to 3 years during 90s. These days it may be much more. But IEEE also has got some paid journals these days, where the review process just takes about 2 to 3 months. And the standard and the quality is the same as the IEEE transaction, in order to help out with people who do research and who want to, take publish it quickly, so that they get credit for the work which is published in a very high quality international journal. So IEEE gives you this option of IEEE Access is one such journal, where people can publish very quickly, but at the payment of some publication fees. But your review comes very quickly within 2 3 months, and the reviews are of very high quality as that of any other transactions.
Thank you, sir. And the next question is, what is the best advice you would like to give to an engineering student and a fresh graduate coming out of the college?
Oh, well, it depends on what exactly you want to do. I'm sure during the 4 years of your engineering, you would have liked something, and you would have found out as to what really interests you, what is the journey, or what is the topic which you want to pursue later in your uh, life in future. So you'll have to identify what are all your positives, what are all your pluses. You have to identify, because you are the best person to gauge or assess yourself. What interests you, what whether it is programming, whether it is making of hardware, whether it is teaching, or whether it is doing research. You will have to find it out for yourself, and then you will have to lage raho. You will have to keep on putting efforts. And these days there are umpteen number of uh, courses and material available on the internet, which one can make use of in order to strengthen his field of interest, and then so that he can have a very fruitful career and future.
Thank you, sir. During the present, also quoted an instance where you traveled to France and from there to US, worked there for some time, and then you are back to your native Manipal. So based on the same lines, there is a question, what is your advice for people who are wanting to come back to hometown and still do good technical work?
That was in 1992. So it's about 3 decades ago. We hardly used to have access to internet that time, and internet had not proliferated as much as these days today. But these days, if you have worked abroad, and if you really want to come back to your native, there are umpteen opportunities. Many companies allow their employees to be anywhere in the world and then work from home. And that is what we are doing during this COVID days also, thanks to the proliferation of internet. And we in our company also allow new mothers, new fathers to work from home from the very beginning. So these days it's not a constraint at all. Well, you can always come back to hometown, and there is a big talent pool in whatever nook and corner of India you go. And I'm sure it will be very refreshing and excellent idea coming back to the hometown and contributing to your community.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is, someone who is running a startup and they have completed their MTech. So they are asking for an opinion. Is it good to go for an external PhD, and also want some inputs on incubation?
Well, external PhD is fine, uh, but when you're in a startup and when you're starting a company and running a company, I doubt whether you would have enough time to do both a PhD as well as work for your company. So I would suggest that you take any one stream, either PhD or your startup company, and then concentrate and focus on that work and take it forward. And because it's not an easy path. There are lots of hurdles which you will face during your entrepreneurial journey, lots of challenges which you will face. You will have to uh, work against them. And though it may look very refreshing and very easy from the kind of presentation I made, but we also had a lot of struggling time from the beginning. So we were 15 years ago, we started our entrepreneurial journey. And at that time, we were very ahead of time. And we were located in an incubation center of an engineering college itself. These days, all engineering colleges encourage, have incubation centers and want to have their own startups. But 15 years ago, that was not the trend. And, it was there was hardly any cooperation from that college. So we had to move out and and then we had to pay rent, and then many a times to pay our rents we used to run some coaching classes and workshops for the local engineering college students. That is how we made up for our finances. So there will be lots of such hurdles. I'm sure if you enjoy that, the fruit will be really sweet at the end of your journey, is what I can suggest.
Thank you, sir. A couple of more, and then we should be able to wrap it up. So the next question is, what is your suggestion to faculty during this crisis of COVID in keeping the students engaging in academics?
Interact with them, keep in touch with them by whatever means you have, and as I was telling you, there are so many options like Zoom or WebEx channels and so on. At least give them assignments, ask them to go through some open source courses like OCW or Coursera, and ask them questions, and then interact with them. Keep in touch with them is what I can. And also use this spare time to improve upon the quality, your own quality, also by going through some Coursera courses and papers, or writing a paper, or something which you always wanted to but you had no time. So this is the best time to explore all those avenues.
Thank you, sir. The next question in line is, what is the help IEEE can provide for those students who wish to choose a career in their core domain, like core electronics? How is the scope in India for country as per your experience?
It's a uh, very tough, because very few people get a chance to work in the core area. Like in one of the webinars which was broadcast from IEEE, somebody was telling me that Google receives 2.5 million applications every year from fresh graduates from all around the world. So it's very competitive. You have to be the best, and you have to compete against the best from all premier institutes of this country. So you'll have to uh, have to have a liking, and have to have an interest, and you have to have do a lot of work before you pursue that interest of working in a core domain. But I would, depending upon your priorities and depending upon the situation where you are, you should take a call whether you should really wait for a core engineering job, especially in these times where jobs will be very scarce because of this COVID situation. Should you really wait for a core engineering job, or whether you should be okay with an IT kind of position? Because as it was told in one of the webinars earlier, it is better, many a times it is better to have a job in hand than to look for any job in hand, than to look for a core job. Especially, it's been so depressing to spend these 3 weeks in isolation, in quarantine. And you can imagine how it would be after graduation if you do not have a job in hand, and then where your classmates are all having jobs. So you should, I think, gauge your possibilities and chances of getting a core job and an IT job. And I would suggest you should grab anything which is offered to you, which is available to you.
Um, Thank you so much, sir. I think we have so much questions for now, and also we are a little top of the hour. And also there are some requests to share the slide deck along with your contact information. Hopefully, like we can do that.
Yes, please, please.
Sure. We would be reaching out to the registered participants with the slide deck and your contact information. And I would like to Shwini for the closing formalities.
Hello,
Yeah, Shwini, you're audible.
I'm audible? Okay, great. I'm audible? Hello.
Yes. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was wonderful listening to you again, Professor UCN. Um, well, I take this opportunity to not only thank you, but also the Bangalore section and the Bangalore subsection for having us, for enlightened us with a lot of inspiration for doing something productive and beneficial to the community. So, thanks a lot for coming again. Hello.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences through this webinar. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the IEEE XCOM members who have been working tirelessly in our crusade to make a very big technical ecosystem in our area and region and in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So, this webinar series, this week, we have quite a few lined up, almost one a day. So, please keep tuned. We'll be happy to have more questions. And please stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.